let's just ask the obvious question that I think a lot of people don't ask, which is why, what, why, right? I mean, that's the question. Why, what, why? Like, think about this. Yeah. Now, I've written on this, by the way. You can find my article on this. I don't know if it's on TorahResource.com. It probably is, but if it's not, then it's definitely in Celebrate the Feast, which is a book of collected articles from writers at Torah Resource. I wrote on circumcision in that book. And basically the way that I tried to go about that article was I took my father's, 22 or 24 page article that he wrote for a scholarly lecture, and I tried to take out some of the great points and bring them down to a understandable level for everyone. The question that needs to be asked is, what? And what I mean by that is, think about Abraham, okay? Abraham has been promised this descendant, and he's been promised that the covenant is going to go through this descendant, okay? And then he tries to do it himself, right? He does it through the flesh instead of through faith in Christ, faith in God. He says, I'm going to do it myself. And he takes Hagar. By the way, this is a total side note. I think it's interesting that God says, after Isaac is born, right? He says, take your son, your only son. And I've heard the midrash on this from the rabbis before. I totally reject it. I think it's nonsense, honestly. Because I think what is actually going on is that God does not see Ishmael as legitimate. The reason that Isaac is his only son is because he's the only legitimate son, which kind of is a testament against polygamy and or obviously taking concubines.
Well,
anyway.
He does say, "I will bless." When Abraham says, "If only Ishmael would live in your sight," and he says, "No, it's going to be Isaac."
Right.
But God does say, "Because he's of your seed, I will bless him."
Sure, but I completely agree, and I'm not saying that. And this also shows that the sins of the father does not pass to the son. The point is that Ishmael, now that he's here, God will bless him, but Isaac's only seen as the illegitimate son because he's the only one.
He's not the son of promise, right? He's not the.
So let's go back.
He's not what God had in mind. Back to God's promise before Hagar and Ishmael.
So let's go back to actually what Rob brought up. He says, "Oh, that Ishmael may stand before you." In other words, Abraham says, I want the covenant to go through Ishmael, right? And God says, no, it's not going to be like that. In fact, and remember that there's already been this promise that he's going to have a child in his old age. And so he says, no, it's going to be through this descendant that I give you. And remember that Sarah and Abraham are well past, he's 100 years old. This is not supposed to work. The text says that she's past the way of women, or she's beyond the way of women. In other words, she can't have children. Okay. And then God says, then everything breaks, everything stops. Okay. And God says, okay, I want you to take yourself and your 13-year-old son, Ishmael, and I want you to go and I want you to cut off a piece of your reproductive organ. What? So at this point, we need to stop and we need to say, is this arbitrary? Is the cutting away of the male organ of procreation, is that arbitrary? Is he just sadistic and just wants Abraham to go through a whole lot of pain in a very specific region of his body that is very sensitive, and every guy is sitting there going, oh, no, don't do, no, what are we doing here? No, come on. And what does Abraham say? He says, done. Yep, let's do it. He circumcises himself and he circumcises Isaac. Now, my belief in this
Ishmael.
Ishmael. My belief in this is that it's not arbitrary. My belief in this is that God is very specific about this as a sign. It is a sign. What is it a sign of? And that's what the question, what comes in. What is a sign of? And why does God have him do it? And it is my belief that the reason that he does it is because Isaac is a foreshadow of the Messiah. And we see this also in when he takes him up to the mountain and he's going to sacrifice his son, right? And then God says, no, I have made a substitute. I've made a way for him. Okay. So What's it a sign of? I think it's a sign of the virgin birth. In other words, the male organ of procreation is taken out of the equation. It's cut away, both in Abraham and Isaac's case and Sarah's case, because they try to do it on their own. But no, you're not going to do it on your own through the flesh. Rather, that piece is cut away, and it's a miracle of God. It is a miracle of God that this child is born, both in Abraham, Isaac, and Sarah's whole scenario. It's a foreshadow of the Messiah. And why is the male organ of procreation taken away with the Messiah? Because the Messiah is going to come through a virgin. The male organ of procreation is completely taken away in that instance. And so when we cut away the flesh of the child at 8 days old, it is a sign that the parents believe in the coming Messiah, that the seed will deal with sin. And now it's still a sign. It's a sign that the Messiah came through the virgin and has dealt with sin. Thank you so much for watching this video. Tell us your thoughts on this subject by leaving a comment in the comment section. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and enable those notifications. And we'll see you in the next video.